and can't find the person I'm looking for, and finally get a woman. She's the assistant manager. Oh, what's your name? Megan. Oh, where are you from, Megan? I'm from Yuma. I said, you're kidding me. Her name, for those of you from Yuma, who know her, Megan Wicks. And her mother is Perla Wicks, who works with the city. Let's give Tim Plott from Fry's Foods. Tremendous supporters of the work we do. All right, so temperature. We all know that temperature is very important. I'm walking over to our staff here. Jonathan, take that thermometer around here and stick it in this radicchio here. I love that word, radicchio. That's fresh right there. What's the temperature on it? 60, whoa, get that out of here. When the produce is that high, we can't get rid of it. We all have to be concerned about our temperature in life. Since that's ours, keep it so I don't end up losing it. All right, that's Jonathan Abarca Agencies. Paula Roscoe, part of being fresh is putting your ideas forth. The other Monday staff meeting, Paul right away has some ideas to improve, to make us more fresh. Congratulations, Paul. We're glad to have you. Pull out this onion here. Right there, yeah, all right. Let's see what the temperature of that sucker is. 32, not bad. Let's see what your temperature is. Whoa, 97. All right, take that back. So temperature. Temperature is so important to each and every one of us. Our temperature, if it was too hot too long in Yuma, too cold too soon, and that made it bad for the food banks, but it made it great for the farmers. They had a good season, but it's an issue when you gotta always make sure if things freeze, that's it. It'll damage the crop. So what's our freeze point as human beings? When do we destroy crops? We have to protect against this. We have to be willing to get along. Our temperature is not always going to be good. We're not always going to be copacetic. We're not always going to get along. But we've got to try to combat the atmosphere of uncivility that exists in today's workplace. It's toxic, and it happens. I'm on the NAC, National Advisory Council for Feeding America. We deal with it all through the food banks across the country. We deal with it in Yuma. The disconnect between the warehouse and the front office. Well, not that many, just a few, Les. Raise your hand if you see that in your food bank. Now, come on, don't be lying. Raise it. It exists. It exists. It's real. There is a disconnect. But we have to understand that we've got to get along with each other and try to make our temperatures a little bit more in sync with one another. It's so very, very important. We have to realize that sometimes our compressor is going to go down and the temperature in our human cooler is not going to be too good. And we're going to be in trouble. But that's what happens when we wear out. And we don't do what we need to do to stay fresh. We have to understand the clients, a plate that came in October of this year. God bless our food bank, to whom this shall concern. I have worked in my life until up to 3 years ago. I had cancer in my right arm. Then I got breast cancer in both breasts. Then I got a brain tumor. And I can't work anymore. Plus, I have 4 grandchildren, small, with me now. My beloved daughter just contracted cancer. Thank God for the food bank. What do you think the temperature of this human being is and was? We have to understand that. We have to realize that happens and do what we can to bring the temperatures down in our workplace, bring the temperatures down in our society, bring the temperatures down across the world. Hunger causes people's temperature to go up. What's our temperature? Have we heated up too much and exploded? Have we frozen out other people? Sometimes that temperature gets so hot it turns into hot anger. It's not helpful. Cold anger is helpful. Get us upset to go ahead and do something about it. Sharon Peterson, I invited everybody to send me comments. What do you want me to talk about? Sharon, stand up. Desert Mission. Yeah, let's give Desert Mission a round of applause. She said to me, she said, Mike, one of the things we're seeing, I'd like you to mention, is we're seeing an incredible increase in the mentally ill come to our food bank. And it's true. And we have to understand that. And we have to appreciate that. And give people a break. When our temperature gets a little high, when their temperature gets a little high. Recent article. And Brian, let's give Brian, where's Brian at? A round of applause for the AAFB Media Watch. All sorts of good stuff. Yeah, hooray for Brian. And the article that was in the Yuma Sun about a class from Valley Lutheran School. And the teacher said, the kids want to come over here and they rush over here. They're so excited to be here. And one of the girls says, it helps me be a better human being. That helps all of our temperatures. Number 2, soil. Soil. Now, see our waters and do the farm says, Mike, you gotta have the right balance in soil. Right amount of dirt, right amount of clay, right amount of silt. He says it's really important. We're blessed in Yuma. Do you know that $1 billion, over $1 billion to the economy, is the agricultural world in Yuma? You gotta have the right balance. What's the balance in the soil of our life? Do we have the proper balance to stay fresh, become fresher? We need to evaluate that. Not just in ourselves, but for the whole food bank. So I said to CR, so what's the biggest threat to soil? I'll bet it's those insects. Those insects. Tell me about the pesticides. Tell me about what you do to get rid of those insects that destroy the soil. He said, Mike, that's not it. I said, really? What is it? He says, it's weeds. I said, really? He says, weeds are the worst. I said, well, CR, how would you define a weed? He said, a weed is a plant that grows where it's not wanted. Like right here, this one that's killing my back right now. Get that weed out of here. What are the weeds in our lives? Our bad habits, our unfortunate behavior, our weaknesses that we need to get out of. What are the weeds that are unhealthy and destroying us? Sometimes we can't get a weed out that easily. I thought I might need Ms. Roberts to help me there. But I didn't. I got it out. But we need help to get the weeds out, to make our soils better. And the weeds are there. We need to address them, and we need to be aware of them. Great book. I got it up here you can look at, called Give and Take by Adam Grant. Highly recommended. Very helpful for me preparing this talk. Talks about how to have the right kind of soil in our lives. We need the motivation. We need the ability. We need the opportunity. We got to be ready to get dirty, to get the weeds out. That's something that's important. We need to foster a soil of gratitude. Do you know in Harvard Business Review, it says a culture, a crop of gratitude is a game changer. It's a game changer for sustainably better performance, better produce, and better crops, as it were. For all of us to be more thankful for others. Because we have to be aware of the weeds. Listen to this one. February 14th. Oh, you are wonderful, Miss Garcia. Her name is, that's great. You can keep this jalapeno pepper. Consider that a gift from Fry's in Scottsdale. So here's a weed. Thank you. This came into the food bank. Thank you. If not for your help at this time of my life, my son just died at the age of 38. And we would have no help if not for you, Yuma Food Bank. As his wife ran off immediately after hearing a toxic report was being done on him, she took some of my things. So now I have nothing. My sister-in-law, she came down from Northern California to help me as I am alone now and need help. I will be moving with them as soon as I can get help to find a lawyer for an investigation into the death of my son. And then find my grandchildren who have lived with me their whole lives, but she took them away. I thought we were one big happy family. So did my son. But now, weeds, they exist. We have to try to get them out. They damage the soil of our very souls and our very lives. Harvey Grady, where's Harvey? Man, now you talking about a guy, stand up, man. Have a pie. Oh, yes. He sends me. So I asked for anybody wants me to say something, send me stuff. And so Harvey sent me a treatise, okay? And it's supposed to be funny, everybody. But anyway, talking about food plans, talking about getting programs that create green jobs, talking about programs that engage community members. Hopefully that's going to happen today. And we're all going to walk out of here with a little bit of fresher soils. All right, number 3. Rotation. The rotation of crops. Part of fertilization is a process to keep the soil healthy, plants nutritious. Take it out of the soil, you got to put in the soil. C.R. Waters talks about he had a field he was having troubles with. I said, what was the problem? He said, sclerotinia. I said, what? He said, sclerotinia. I said, oh, okay. Anyway, it's a disease that a lot of you may know that comes to lettuce. So he said, Mike, you know what I had to do? I had to get the lettuce out of there, rotate the crop. Next year I put in cotton. Thought that'd be good. Put in lettuce the next year, same thing, sclerotinia. I said, man, that's not good. He said, no, then the next year I put in wheat. He said, no. Next year, went back to lettuce, still sclerotinia. But guess what, Mike? The year after that, I put in broccoli. And broccoli cleared up the source of the disease that was killing the lettuce. So that's what we need to do. We need to rotate. We don't like to rotate. We don't like change. It's something that's very hard. It's very upsetting to us. It's important to know that we have a fear of rotation. And that's okay. We need to get rid of it. Jenny Hildebrand sent me a tremendous story, Jenny, about her grandmother. When I think of fresh beginnings, I think of my grandmother. She could not keep the furniture in the apartment or house in the same place for more than 1 month at a time. She had to move it all around and create a new living space every 4 to 6 weeks. Without that upheaval that she caused herself, she felt stale and old. Once I had my own home, I could see what she was thinking. I realized then, moving also helps you clean deep down in the corners and get all the dust and the grime out. When you rearrange your furniture, it can be something like rearranging your thinking. Your patterns for doing things, the big things and the little things in your life. So important to rotate, to change. Point number 4, the sun. We need the sun. I love Yuma. I love the sun. 897 days a year it's sunny in Yuma. I hope you get the point. We need the sun to grow. I said, see why is the sun so important? Oh, it's really important, Mike. It's just so very important. It's photosynthesis. I said, what? Photosynthesis has to occur. He says it's got to be there. You got to have photosynthesis in order to have growth. In this book over here on coaching by Mr. Whitaker, he talks about growth. G for goal setting, R for reality check, O for the options, and W for the who, the what, the when, and the where. In that book, Givers and Takers, that I highly recommend, Mr. Adam Grant talks about George Meyer. Very wealthy, very famous. Raise your hand if you know who George Meyer is. He's a writer. I'll give you a clue. Nobody knows who George Meyer is. In the book he says not very many people know who George Meyer is. He's one of the writers. Started out with Saturday Night Live, and then he went to The Simpsons. And he is very wealthy and very rich and a very talented writer. And he has a code of honor, and his code of honor, I think, is something that will help us be fresh. Number 1, real simple, show up. Number 2, work hard. Number 3, be kind. And number 4, take the high road. Take the high road. Don't let the clouds and storms wipe you away. Now, before I get into the paper plate that I have for the sun, let me read the one I had for rotation. This was written by a person on January 10th this year. A person who was applying for SNAP. I do not want to be here. It's hard to ask for help. when I've always supported myself, but now I'm 70 years old on a fixed income and in financial trouble. I have turned over my credits to nationwide debt so they wouldn't have to file bankruptcy. I have everyday bills, rent, and insurance payments, and medical insurance, and all sorts of utilities. And until I find a job, I'm in trouble. I need food stamps. And we all know, is Ellen Teller here? She was going to be here, but anyway, Ellen couldn't make it. But she, with FRAC, helps really to help us get the stats that can help us convince people of how important it is to rotate, how important it is to change. And when we're changing this farm bill, we have to think of SNAP. Less than the SNAP average, I believe is right, is what, 8 to 10 months people spend on it? 80% of SNAP is people who are adults, seniors, and children. I mean, come on, we have to be willing to rotate as hard as it is. So back to the sun. If we're going to be fresh people, are we the sun? Do we bring brightness to people's lives? Do we warm them up? Do we give them joy? I mean, I walk out of the Yuma food bank when we have an ammonia leak or the compressor's down, or we've got all sorts of issues, and I walk and I look at the sun and I said, oh, well, it ain't that bad. We can be that for other people. And here's a woman. The main reason I come to the food bank is to make sure we have enough food for the family. But another big reason is fellowship and camaraderie. Sit around my house, I'm thinking about all my problems, I'm getting surrounded by monthly bills, and I get depressed. I worry about my family, can I do it? And I come over to the food bank, and I get uplifted. Relief from stress, to be around friendly faces. Can we say that about ourselves? Do we do that? Are we joy? Are we productive? Do we go out and produce? Where's Arthur? Is Arthur here? Arthur Espinosa, he's not here. Tell him he missed it. Who knows Arthur? Anybody here know him? All right, give this to Arthur, will you? It's a cucumber. It came in from Nogales. That's what they said at Fry's anyway. But do we have enough sun to produce bananas or oranges? Okay? Or notice I picked the smallest piece of broccoli I could. Or broccoli. That's like somebody came in the food bank the other day, they were packaging produce, and I said, okay, we're sorting Brussels sprouts. And the guy says, oh, I don't want to do Brussels sprouts. I said, you don't have to eat it. Just pack it. We're not going to like everybody we work with. We're not going to like every volunteer, but we would be nowhere in our food banks without our volunteers, without our board members. Final point, water. Water, water, water. Sustainability. Life-giving. It's amazing in Yuma to see the irrigation canals all over the place. And you gotta, CR told me, yeah, Mike, you gotta really watch out for water. I said, what do you gotta watch out for? Microbial contamination. I said, okay. I said, microbial contamination. Yeah. You ever hear of E. coli? I said, yes, I did. So we have to constantly keep the water clean. Water is growth. Water puts it all together. Water is something we wouldn't live without. I've got it here in Arizona wherever I go. We all do. We can't get fresh when we don't admit we need water. Just recently, I think it was last Sunday, the Arizona Republic, treat water like a lifeblood. The Arizona Community Foundation is giving a loan to the Botanical Foundation for water. This cabbage wouldn't exist without water. Be ready. That's what being fresh means. It's all of us today an opportunity to refresh ourselves, to walk out of here ready to refresh our food banks. It's an opportunity that we have to recognize all of the freshness that exists in ourselves. And here's the last plate of the day. Check it out. That's right. This is the hand of a 4-year-old. And obviously his parent, he wrote this and then a parent typed it for him. Thank you for the food that you give us. We really appreciate it. This is my hand. And when I grow up, I will use it to also help those in need. That's right. That's right. That's why we're here today. To step it up a little bit further, keep it fresh, baby, and get it even more fresh. We can do it. We're going to do it. Thanks for being here. Let's get even fresher than we already are.